Well, once that tire stops spinning, we're going to be ready to hopefully heat and mount up the tire. So the first thing, we have our brand new Michelin tire that we got from Vlad. I want to try to warm this tire. Now I've kind of let it sit under the heating vent overnight. Did not even get it close to being as warm as it should be. Another issue that I've had is I've never found out, and nobody seems to know, and I've seen no serious information, anybody that really knows the truth, about this. Where do these tires have a hard spot? They used to have a red dot, and they don't have a red dot anymore. So basically what I need to do, and I've had luck with this, but I don't know if this is the right thing to do. I've been lining up the tire valve with the little barcode and just thinking maybe that would be my lucky day. And so far it has been pretty good. None of the Michelin tires were really terribly out of balance. So that's a little bit to our advantage anyway. What I wanted to do is I got to figure right now I'm going to get the hairdryer out or the heat gun or something and try to warm this tire up. That's the first step before I do anything. Now I always mount the tires, especially with painted rims. This paint might still be a little soft. It's 3 or 4 days old. I'm going to try to mount it. If you take a tire iron to it while the paint is soft, it's going to be a problem. So hopefully I can get this warm enough, get the Gorilla Tape on it, and get it on without using any tools, hopefully, like we've done in the past. Now in the past I've used a combination of the quartz heater, and that seems to warm it up a lot quicker than a hairdryer. But of course the one thing I've got to be able to do is just spin this around constantly. I don't want to leave it on one spot. I want the tire to... Actually, you know, I just thought of something, and this is the beauty of sharing things with video. Maybe I should come up with a way of spinning this tire on the balancer somehow. Well, for the future I'll think about doing something like that. I'm making a little jig that I can just spin this around so it would heat the whole tire equally. But getting the tire up to about 120 degrees. If this was a sunny day, a summer day, just put it out in the sun on the hood of my black Jetta, and that tire is 135 degrees almost instantly. Now the whole trick is to use Gorilla Tape. A tire. I wish that I could get the tire even warmer than this, but I'm going to have to quit while I'm ahead. I'm going to have to do this. Is a strong tire. I'm going to have to do this one on the floor. Yeah, I guess not. The bigger, these heavy duty tires, wow. I may have to rewarm this just a little bit. Now, the trick is start with the Gorilla Tape. Don't go down into the bead. 4 places. I found you didn't need to do more than that. I guess if you could do this on the floor, it'd be a little bit easier. There we go. The tighter you can make it, the better, but certainly not critical. Just want to get this. That'll probably do it. And I try to work reasonably fast so the tire doesn't cool off, of course. Oh, this one was a tough one. You're a tough guy. Now the idea is to get the tape out without leaving any down in the valley of doom here. Make sure it's all out, get all four off. The next step, just get a couple of, before we put air in it, try to get it to seat out. Again, a whole trick to this thing, even this was a tough one, by the way. It's tough because I didn't get the tire as warm as I should have the first shot around. But you always get it. Now the advantage, of course, is we have put no tool against our still soft paint. Next time we change this tire, it won't really matter. It won't be a problem. The paint will already be super, super hard. Question, just putting a tire valve in without scratching the rim. The whole idea of doing this is so these rims that we put an awful lot of time and energy into. I want to put 50 pounds of air in, let it sit for a little while, check the bead. If I don't get any bubbles, because this is actually going to sit here till we get the bolts from Motorcycle Mall anyway. So, but if it maintains the pressure overnight, probably safe to ride the bike. The sound we love to hear. Okay, now before we go any further, I'm going to take some ordinary Windex. Not only will I know right away if I start seeing bubbles down by the valve, all I know these are good valves. Famous last words. That side certainly isn't showing me anything bad. But the whole idea of all of this is just not to have to put tools up against the rim. And when you can avoid that, if you have Marchesini wheels or real expensive, these gold-plated things that they sell on some exotic bikes, or you just like to have things without scratches, and I do. Yeah, that looks peachy keen. That looks like it's going to be okay. Now, as I look at the balance on this, well, we are really, really close. Wow. That's not off by much at all. And what I've done in the past, and I think it just was a waste of time, even for me, I've cut those weights in pieces and ground them down and tried to get it so perfect that, you know, Luciano, I think, had it right long ago. If it's this close, don't touch it. And an advantage is, in our case, it's a small advantage. We don't have to put on any of those glue-on weights or anything. But that does look pretty close. I'm really impressed. Now, so what it leads me to believe, and this is the information I wanted to pass on, leads me to believe that possibly that little barcode, and maybe we're just lucky about it, lining that up with the valve stem is, looks like it's a good way to do this. I'm not sure. I wish I knew for sure. See, that's the problem with all of this stuff. You try to figure it out, and Glenn and I tried to figure it out. We asked Pete at Circle Cycle and various other people that really, nobody seems to know on Michelin tires where that light spot is or that heavy spot. But these are so close. And when you get them this close, sometimes you're just wasting your time fooling around trying to make it like that a feather could touch it. Because as soon as you run that in and edge it in and everything, all these little dots are going to change and everything. Now we try to send out a video to our friends and people that follow this stuff along. All our motorcycle adventures, rides and everything, and the work we do on them. But we try to do it almost every day, maybe with a few exceptions. But here's one of the things now, while I know I have to wait for Motorcycle Mall to get me the bolts, I can get a little bit of head start on polishing up the axle spacers. Some of the parts here, I want to polish them all up so that when I get the bolts from Motorcycle Mall, which hopefully in a couple of days I'll get the correct bolts, I can snap this all back together in a matter of an hour. Now some of these parts you're really not going to see, but I'll see it. And some of the parts, it's not really obvious, but having them nice and clean, I gotta wipe that with a microfiber now. I got rid of a lot of the little corrosion or whatever was on there. Now granted, these are all little details. The novices among us would not even notice them, but there are some people that do notice everything. Now even just a little thing like this, having the axles and the nuts polished a little bit, just as long as we have it apart, and as long as we have to wait for our good friends at Motorcycle Mall, I think that should add another little detail. As long as we have to wait. But I'd do this even if we didn't have to wait. Now these axle spacers, or I don't know what the right nomenclature for this would be, they had a coating of what looked like clear anodize. I took that off with the drill press and just going to polish this up. That'll add another nice little detail touch. I just thought I'd show one of these before and after. Before polishing, after polishing. Of course it's all subjective, but I think every time you can polish something on the bike, that just makes it look just a little bit nicer, a little bit more custom, and in the end just a lot more fun to work on, that's for sure. And there's just one example of it right there. Well, that's about all we're going to get done today. We got our parts polished up, cleaned up. Even the axle nut came out nice. And we are really one day away. The only thing left to get is the bolts and button this back up. But we don't have the bolts now, Motorcycle Mall, so anyway. Hope you enjoyed the video. We have to go take care of our grandson. This has been a great project. Hope you've enjoyed sharing it with us. And thanks for watching.